here.
Welcome into TFW Live, the best kept secret in fantasy football, where we keep that week one feeling going all year long. I'm Austin Sear, and joined here by a couple of my best friends in the whole wide world, Big Travie and Johnny Game Time Hicks. You know them as Big Travie and Johnny Game Time Hicks. And we are, of course, also joined here by you, Whisper Nation. We got Albert, we got Mike Herrick, we got Pizza Belly coming on in the chat. We got Freak Stomper here, the one and only, getting over here playing a little bit of peekaboo.
Yeah.
Oh.
Bam! Gotcha right there.
Wow.
Dude,
I didn't even know. I didn't even know where you were
I
going.
thought he dropped, dude. I was like,
Yeah,
man,
I was like, is the internet drop or something?
Nah, man, we just dropping serious peekaboo game over
Yeah,
on
let's
TFW
go.
Live, as you already know. Whisper Nation, it's great to have you in there with us. If you're new to the show, let us know. We're going to shout you out on air. And we are trying to grow the channel by just one more member to Whisper Nation, one more member who wants to join a community where they know that they belong, because you do over here on TFW. On today's episode, we are going to be doing a 12-team PPR mock draft over on Sleeper, and we're going to be doing it with a good friend of the show here, Troy King. You know him from Football Guys. Let's go ahead and bring him on. Welcome in, Troy.
What's up, y'all, man? I'm so excited for this draft, and I appreciate you having me on. Let's do this.
Yes, we are very excited, and thank you for joining us here today. Couple of warm-up questions here, just so Whisper Nation can get to know you a little bit better, as we like to ask our guests when they come on in. So, Troy, do you root for your NFL team or your fantasy team more?
I gotta probably go NFL team. For those who don't know,
Oh,
Dolphins fan.
Dolphins. All
Miami
right.
Dolphins. I gotta go. I've been a Dolphins fan. I was born into the fandom, so I gotta go Dolphins in that one.
Respect.
I love it. I love it. What year did you start playing fantasy football?
2015. So I guess a little bit later than some other people, but 2015.
It's kind of funny, right? That's like 7 years ago, going on 8 years. And
I
it's
know,
like,
but
it's
it's been a long time. But like for other people, been playing a million years. So,
dude, if your fantasy football history was a kid, that thing would be doing like multiplication times tables by now. It is
basically
a full-fledged. Well, in that time, least favorite fantasy football player all time, Troy.
Least favorite? Oh,
Yeah.
gosh, there's so many options. There's a lot of bad ones. I'll go with, man, more recent history. I'll go N'Keal Harry, man. I thought he was gonna be good. I'll say for right now, I'll say N'Keal Harry because I spent a high draft pick on him. So
I feel that one. I bet you do too credit out there. Shout out to our Dynasty League on this one. Fingers crossed for the move coming up for him. Favorite fantasy football, or excuse me, we did least favorite. How about favorite fantasy football player all time, Troy?
I probably gotta go Cam Newton. Cam Newton, when I first started, he finished as the QB1 that year. And just Cam was a fantasy football superstar. And obviously this recent, fantasy footballness has not been so great, but no, he helped me win some championships. So I love Cam in that aspect.
I love that you brought that one up. He certainly made an impact for a lot of folks here. What is a sound or a noise that you love?
I love. I love. Wait, repeat the question one more time.
What's a sound that you love?
Sound I love? Oh, the barbecue grilling.
Yeah,
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Sizzle.
Yeah, the sizzle.
I love that.
Can't beat the sizzle.
Can't beat that one. Favorite fantasy football team name?
I like Lights Kamara Action.
Okay, nice. Hopefully we get a full show from the man this year, but we'll see.
Hopefully.
Favorite swear word?
Ooh, I like the one that I use a lot. I probably say shit a lot. Shit would probably be what I use the most.
Yeah. I'm thinking that's an underrated one. What are the most leagues that you played in at one time, Troy?
It's probably right now. Probably playing
this
like
year.
I'm like at 20 right now.
Oh, damn.
Okay.
That's meaty. That's meaty. It's got that sizzle for these
It's
ones
a
for
lot.
sure.
Before, I grew a lot this year. I feel like I added 6 or 7 leagues in the off season. Off season's dangerous because you just join leagues. So
I feel everyone hits you up for leagues.
I feel like that's the natural progression too for the analyst is well, I had that one summer where I joined 20, And like, I feel like Troy, you're in that those hot days.
I know. Right? Like, people kept warning me, and I'm like, next year, I gotta leave some, y'all. I'm not gonna tell who.
You gotta say
I'm
no.
not gonna tell who I'm leaving, but hopefully we'll see. Like, I'm trying
It'll
to get
work
it down
out.
to like 15, but we'll see.
It'll work itself out. Most exciting fantasy football moment.
Ooh, fantasy football moment. Probably it was the game where I think I was losing. And you remember the Miami Miracle with the Dolphins beat the Patriots right at the end?
Was that Gronk missed the tackle?
Yeah, Gronk missed the tackle. I believe Kenyon Drake, if I'm not mistaken, my league at least, he got the points.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he got the points. He scored that touchdown, and I remember I think I might have made it to the playoffs on that, or I can't remember exactly if it was like a playoff berth for me or like a first round of the playoffs, but I remember that. I'm like freaking out at the TV, so that was a big deal for me.
That is a good one. How about your favorite game day beverage?
Ooh, favorite game day beverage. I gotta go. There's a lot of choices, man. I like Blue Moons. I like Blue Moons. Yeah.
Orange slice or no orange slice?
Orange slice.
All right.
Orange slice.
Boneless or bone-in wings?
Bone in, absolutely.
We said wings, right?
Yeah. No, boneless, absolutely, exactly. You right now.
Kickoff. I love this question. Now we get some wild responses on it. Kickoff is in 2 minutes. You're still deciding your flex. Do you go with your gut or your weekly rankings, Troy?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Weekly rankings, that's the thing. Like, I'm so fickle, man. Like, I could change by like 5 minutes in my feelings. So definitely my gut.
It's just like the most updated weekly rankings. Right. There. Yeah, I feel that. All right. And this is the last question now. What is your favorite position to draft from in 2022?
The 12 spot. I like
the
I like the back-to-back picks. I didn't pick it on purpose today because the reason I actually picked the number 4 spot because that's a hard spot. And I want to see how it is to draft the positions I don't like. And I hate the 4, so I perfectly chose the 4.
Well, I'm glad you left the 12 for me on this one. I'll go ahead and gobble that one up and get it started. I'm at one bookend. We got Big Travie there at the other bookend. Whisper Nation, we're in here. We got a full draft room. John, are we ready to light this thing up?
Yeah. Well, Travis has to light it up, but yeah.
Travis, are we ready to light this up?
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, it's lit up. It's burning.
There we go.
It's sizzling.
Oh, this came to
all right, moving around. Oh, we got CMC, Travie. You took him off the board there. It's not a wild pick, but it might be a little bit unusual with Jonathan Taylor still on the board. Can you walk us through a little what's got you preferring CMC over kind of the overall 101, Jonathan Taylor?
I maybe it's the contrarian in me that wants to do this. Like, I'm not going to buy into the narrative. Oh, you can never pick, the number 1 never repeats. That's not exactly what we're trying to do. We've talked about that before. But essentially, Christian McCaffrey's ceiling is what I'm chasing at the 1-1. And that's a ceiling that nobody else can really reach based on what we've seen. And it's like, fantasy football breaking. Now, Jonathan Taylor's a fine pick. I think he's maybe the safest pick that's out there, just given age, offensive line, all those things. But he did see a ton of red zone work, a ton of goal line carries. And that could have been because they were hiding Carson Wentz and they leaned on Jonathan Taylor to win games when he could. Matt Ryan should open the offense up more, and that's necessarily usually a good thing. It's just splitting hairs at this point. And I like to see what some of my drafts work out with, going with CMC, who's got a little bit more of a risk to him. But again, I just think he's got a ceiling that's pretty unmatched as far as running back goes.
I appreciate you bringing up the point of being difficult to repeat as the number 1 overall running back. And I hear folks in the fantasy football industry bring that up all the time. And in my head, every time I hear somebody say you can't predict the number 1 fantasy running back to back, I'm like, who the fuck cares? Like, that's not what we're trying to do. I'm just trying to give myself the best chance at having a top 5 back that's got some real ceiling and can win me some weeks when my other players decide not to show up. Like, I don't need the 1-1. I just need a guy who's going to like give me some really good finishes and then like overall be pretty good on that one. So
what you're saying is we need to dive a little bit deeper and see how much the regression is after that breakout year of finishing number 1.
Yes,
I think would be more telling.
Yes. Tell me what the propensity to finish after number 1 overall spot is. Give me the data on that over the last 10 years, because if you're telling me you've got an 80% chance of getting an RB1, taking the guy who finished as the number 1, like that makes this whole conversation just a little bit easier to me. But I want to kick it over now to Troy King, who in the 4 spot took Austin Eckler. He avoided CMC and John Taylor. They were already taken off the board. And I wanted to know what you were kind of thinking, Troy, in this PPR setup to stay with a halfback, albeit one who catches, though, a lot of passes in Austin Eckler. Were you stoked to pick up Austin Eckler? Were you kind of like in the fritz? What were you thinking there?
Oh, no, I was excited because for me, and that's the thing with the 4 spot. I didn't like the 4 spot, but one thing that I did like is that the top 3 people dictated who I was going to go with, right? And then look, Austin Eckler had a monster season last year, 20 touchdowns, and again, rushing the ball, and he was good at catching the ball. So Austin Eckler, again, he's in that Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey range now. Like he's an elite back, and to me, especially in redraft leagues, I like to take advantage of workhorse backs who also catch passes. As the later you go in drafts, the less of those there are. So I'm going to capitalize when I get an opportunity to get one of those guys.
I just love how in Hard Knocks 2 years ago, when they showed like Austin Eckler, and he was like clearly out jumping everybody on the goal line drill. And then they never used him on the goal line. It was like, and they were like complimenting him. They're like, "Oh, you're so good around the goal line. You're so good at jumping. You can jump higher than anyone. You jump a small building, but we're not going to give it to you, even though you can."
And he can do so much. And Travis, I wanted to ask you about Austin Eckler, because I've reluctantly like come around on the Austin Eckler steam. And like, I don't even know what come around means. It's like, Austin, you missed the fucking bus. Like, oh, good job. Now you're like looking and seeing the reality of his numbers. Okay, fine. Right. Like he's done what he's done. And there isn't a lot of logic suggesting he's not going to do exactly what he did again. If I'm looking at this, Travis, Austin Eckler's literally only concern for me is health. And I think he's actually gotten kind of a bad bag for being injury prone when he plays the majority of the season every time he's been active. So where are you looking at with Austin Eckler? Is have kind of the 3rd running back off the board the accurate spot for you for Austin Eckler right now?
That's a little rich for my blood, but I don't mock it or anything like that. Like I think I shouldn't say mock. I don't poo-poo it anything. I'm not down on Troy's pick here. And I think, like you said, we look at it one way. You could say, oh, all these touchdowns. What was it? 20 total touchdowns last year. Yeah. You could say, oh my God, he's up for regression. Well, not if you're in that offense. I don't know if you can really say he's up for regression. Plus, he's playing the Kamara role for an offense that was, similar like this, using their pass catcher, extensively, using him in the red zone because he's great at the goal line, and he proved that. You talked about the injury concern, and then it's a guy who's like, well, I'm going to dedicate my body to like making sure it stands the test of time here. As I make this pick really quickly.
Don't you do it.
And I want to throw in here too, yes, they picked up Isaiah Spiller, Johnny's guy, this year to be a backup running back.
Dude,
but before that, they picked up Larry Roundtree. Before that, they picked up Joshua Kelly, and they had Josh Jackson there before the whole time too. They've continually tried to find a complementary back, and they haven't been able to find it since Austin Eckler was the complementary back for Melvin Gordon. Like, it's not as easy just to find a running back who can play effective, consistent football. I know in today's NFL, we like to say, just grab a dude off the couch and plug him in and give him 15 touches. He's going to be good. Yeah, well, tell that to the Chargers. They've tried to do that, and they haven't been able to pull it off. So, like,
Roundtree was not this coaching staff. This is the first Spiller is this.
No, but it is the GM
running back.
It is the GM.
And
so
don't try to undercut my point.
My last point on Austin Eckler is that if you think that he could regress, I think there's ways for him to actually make up for it. So we talk about how good this offense is and all the players on it. I mean, there's a case to say that Austin Eckler is maybe the best skill possession player on that team. Mike, I love Keenan Allen. I love Mike Williams. It's not a knock to them, but he is a guy that is just as good, if not better, at what he does than those guys. You look at Keenan Allen's efficiency metrics, they're actually kind of on the decline. He's getting up there in age. You look at Mike Williams, never been a model of health. So when this offense gets their back against the wall in that really tough division and they got to win games, like they're going to go to their best weapon. And Eckler, I think he can profile as that main vein for them.
I think so too. On this one, I want to say what up to do it for 20. What's going on, man? Good to see you here. Switching over now to another explosive player outside of Austin Eckler. Troy, I wanted to get your take on Debo Samuel as we're kind of working through these rounds here. We've spoken a lot about Debo Samuel, but there's still more that needs to be said. Debo is has requested a trade. He hasn't pulled that back. He had an unbelievably amazing year last year in year 3, which was a real outlier with his first 3 years in the NFL. Not to suggest he can't have another amazing year next season, but I wanted to know where you stand on Debo Samuel, both in terms of like, is he going to be with the 49ers? Is he a happy camper? If he is, or if he isn't, what does that do to his fantasy production? And what's your appetite on Debo Samuel coming in this year?
So I was certain that he was going to get traded originally, but now I'm scaling back on that. It seems like they're going to work it out. His best scenario is staying in San Francisco. Now, I feel like with Kyle Shanahan, right? It sounds like from the reports we've heard that he doesn't want to really play that running back position anymore. He wants to be a receiver, which I totally understand. And there's longer shelf life playing the receiver role, but he got his extra fantasy juice by being a running back and a wide receiver. So we're probably going to see, I mean, I don't like to say regression all the time, but if there's a regression candidate out there, Debo Samuel is probably the poster boy of regression. So I do see it, but at the same time, it doesn't matter if he regresses a little bit. He's still going to be really freaking good. So I'm still excited for him. Where he gets drafted, so he was what, wide receiver, like 6 off the board or so. Like
6, 7.
That's a little rich for my blood. Like I'd rather some other guys ahead of him, but I think he could be a wide receiver 1, definitely. Like I definitely see that. It's just like where he finished last year, I'm a little bit more skeptical that we're going to see that type of performance again. But I like Debo, but and I think Shanahan's going to find creative ways to use him.
Yeah.
His best bet is to stay in San Francisco for fantasy purposes, but I'm expecting some regression from him.
He's such an interesting one. He's got a very volatile player, real high ceiling, low floor too. Johnny, I know last week's mock, Ian Harditz from Pro Football Focus joined the show, and he had some interesting comments about George Kittle, actually, and I saw you nodding along. I wanted to know if any of those had kind of stuck with you. And I'm asking you this question right as you're on the clock because I just want to fuck with your draft a little bit. No, I'm just playing on here. I did want to know, though, if Ian Harditz's comments about George Kittle, which I thought were a little bit refreshing because the man's 28 years old. He's an elite talent at the tight end position. Really, his only concern is he's going to block so damn good that he's going to get hurt and then he's not going to be active. But did any of the conversation with Ian Harditz shift your outlook on the San Francisco pass catchers, Debo Samuel and George Kittle?
I mean, it made me think like second look at and take a, oh man, and it did. It happened. Oh my gosh.
You got your boy.
I don't want him. Like, that's horrible.
Oh,
that's so bad, dude.
I don't
See,
like
that's
him.
what happened. You have me clicking on tight end. Oh, dude, that was horrible. I hate that. I mean, I do think Monty will be fine this year in that system. I do think, but he's always going to get hurt. So that's just what it is with Monty.
Me, I was gonna say I like Monty too. Is just like I just want him to slip a little bit more for me to get comfortable with him. I just don't have any Monty in my draft because he always goes where I don't want him to go. I always want him to go later, but maybe my expectations are just not realistic. But yeah.
So getting back,
you're on auto draft, Johnny. Like, you're on auto draft. You're on auto draft.
Well, I need to. Okay, hold on. Turn off auto pick. Just barely, dude. I'm all right. Fine. I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna take.
I think the last
dirty herbs, dude.
I think the one point I think people aren't looking at with Debo. Like, if you were looking at yards per reception, would you think that Debo was third in the league, better than Jamar Chase, better than MVS, better than like some of these deep threats? Like, that's what he was. 18.25 in yards per reception. So as a receiver, Debo was really good. And we're forgetting that because he was used so much in the red zone as a runner as well. It's just about where do we meet in the middle on his receiving usage and the Trey Lance, conundrum. Is Trey Lance going to be able to get him? And I think in that offense, they'll scheme it to existence. Like, he's just it's so good.
I love those points, Trav. You almost see Debo kind of like Cooper Kupp, where we're talking about this unbelievable year. And it's like, okay, incorporate 25% regression. The dude is still a wide receiver 1. You're enjoying that. But I wanted to ask Troy, Miami fan, got a new wide receiver 1 in the house. He's got a new wide receiver 1 for his mock draft here. In the second round, Troy, you took Tyreek Hill. This is a name that people feel strongly about on both sides of the conversation, the ceiling, the floor. You liked him enough to take him as your first wide receiver. Could you speak a little on Tyreek Hill and specifically as a Dolphins fan? What are you looking at?
Sure. So with Tyreek Hill, I have realistic expectations, right? I'm not expecting him to necessarily put up the same numbers that he put up with Patrick Mahomes, right? It's just, again, Tua, I like Tua, but he's not that guy in terms of that aspect. But the Dolphins didn't pay Tyreek Hill all that money not to give him an insane target share, right? And then Tyreek Hill just completely changes the entire offense. Speaking about him just directly, that he's going to command the highest target share, and I think that with the McDaniels offense I'm expecting him to bring should mirror similar to what we saw in San Francisco. And it just creative ways to use Tyreek Hill to get him the ball. And we know he's a yak monster. So I believe that at the wide receiver 8 in this case, the upside to me is just too much to ignore with that talent and the way I believe he's going to be used. But yeah, I just think with him, he helps the entire offense. He's going to get the stronger coverage, which obviously is going to help Jalen Waddle, is going to help Mike Gesicki, even Cedric Wilson. He's probably going to benefit a lot. He's obviously the third wide receiver, but that's somebody super late that you can get in drafts. And who knows? He's going to get no coverage at all if they go into 3 wide receiver sets. But in terms of Tyreek Hill, I think the hate is a little too much just because Tua isn't Patrick Mahomes. Doesn't mean he's not going to get a high target share. He's not going to get, the yard. It's not going to be exactly the same, but he's still going to get his. So to me, at wide receiver 8, I like the upside, and I'm really confident in what he's going to bring to the team and what he's going to bring to fantasy this year.
Not only that, but they are most likely going to use him in that Debo role and give him those carries out of the backfield. So I think that's where his value becomes very safe to me. Now, again, do I think that he could be the number 1 overall again? I'm not sure with Tua, but I definitely think that he's still going to be a top 10 wide receiver this year. I was talking about Austin yesterday though, because he has Tyreek, and the opening part of their schedule is brutal. But then you get like into
Patriots,
October,
Baltimore, the Bills.
Yeah. So, but then once you get into October, it should be gravy.
Yeah. The way it is, it's like it starts off hard, easy for a few weeks, and we end the season hard. So basically we need to steal some games. We need to steal some games early on. The middle of our schedule is pretty cake. We should win majority of them. At the end of the season, we'll see what type of team we are, but we really need to win those middle ones, and we got to steal some early because, like you said, the beginning of our schedule, it's pretty tough.
Mm-hmm. It is pretty good. Just a quick shout out there to Tyreek. I love to see these guys with really impressive, consistent careers, and I know his game by game is up and down, but 5 out of 6 years as wide receiver 1 for Tyreek Hill in his 6 years. So
not bad for a guy that was supposed to be a gadget. Remember the guy?
Not so bad, Jalen Ramsey. Not so bad. On this, and that isn't standard.
Right.
He did finish wide receiver 2 his rookie year. Yeah, and he said they had a little bit of back and forth on that.
I just got sniped so hard.
There we go.
You got Jalen Hurts. You got sniped, Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts, it was right there, right.
I got
sniped.
And there isn't like another guy who fills that same type of slot.
No, exactly. Now I'm just gotta. Chill.
I mean, there is.
What are you thinking about now?
No one wants to jump on the ship yet.
Trey Lance.
You got Dylan. No, I wanted Dylan. That was the guy I was eyeing.
Listen, look, you should yell at what's his face for taking Hurts from me. I wasn't gonna go Dylan.
That was dirty, dude. That was dirty.
I got sniped. I got sniped at mine too, and I was really reeling from it too. I wanted Amari Cooper. I'll take him on Ross and Brown. I'm cool with that one. But damn, it stings. It really does. Do you have any little tips or things you try to follow, Troy, when you go into drafts to avoid the psychological collateral damage that can happen getting sniped?
I mean, that's a good one. I feel like no matter how many drafts you experience, getting sniped hurts sometimes. But you know what?
You just so bad.
So I cry internally for a bit, and then I get back on track. And then I'm like, all right, what does my team need? I went receiver a bunch of rounds, and it was funny. Like I was thinking about Schultz too. So if I didn't go Dylan, I was thinking about Schultz. So I do like that pick. But yeah, I think it's about I'll cry a little bit. What do my team need? And keep it moving. That's just how I kind of do things.
That's a smart way. I'm just going to plug this one. I forgot the Yahoo writer who had mentioned this years ago, but she had written this article and I just thought it was so good. And it was like, count out the players when it's coming up. And just, if you're 3 spots away, have 4 people in mind. Just and plan on every single guy you want being taken in that exact order. And then you're just expecting it. And it just works out. But Travi, I wanted to swing this over to you now and ask if your draft is going as you expected. Here you got 4 wide receivers in a row: Allen Robinson, Rashad Bateman, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Gabe Davis. High ceiling, high floor guys with some real question marks on them. Kind of fun, kind of scary. How are you feeling about it?
I think that's the area that I want to gamble on wide receiver. You know, like the 4th through 7th round is where I want to start throwing darts. I think that if I had these wide receivers in real life, I'd be smoking more darts than I'd be throwing them, because it is a little bit scary here. You're like a little bit nervous on some of these guys, but the upside is through the roof. And I think that's just where I want to be with these. You know, this has definitely become like the pure upside team, this build. So you asked how it's going. It's a little bit fast and loose, but I like it. And we had a comment that said, you know, Cortland Sutton driving up boards. He was there 4-6, right? That's who I was kind of hoping to anchor my wide receivers, or Mike Williams, who got taken right before me. So these guys are like really moving up some of the anchor wide receivers, and rightfully so. I think that's kind of where they belong. So it's just kind of what happens on the end a little bit here, but I don't mind the offenses, or at least the roles I invested in with these wide receivers. So I think it'll depend on how the rest shakes out. I missed on Jalen Hurts, but it looks like it wouldn't have mattered because Troy was going to get him. So we'll see what happens with the late quarterback situation too.
Not in April anymore.
Hey, Troy, Drake London or Treylon Burks?
Drake London.
There we go. All right.
Ugh, I'm not on him.
I know. I asked the question.
I'm out.
No, I want to tell you why I like Drake London, right? Because one, I mean, there's multiple reasons, right? I just like his athletic profile. He's 6'5", and just also look at Atlanta. Look at their wide receiver core. It's putrid. You really can't name anybody besides Kyle Pitts who they're going to throw the ball to. So it's going to be jump balls in the red zone all day to Pitts and Drake London. And also, you don't invest that draft capital in the type of guy you don't expect to give him a heavy target share. But it's the combination of talent and opportunity in that offense. I expect them not to be a good team, so Atlanta's going to have to throw the ball early and often. And again, who are you going to throw it to, Pitts or London? So to me, for all those reasons, I'm excited. Even as a rookie coming in, I'm excited for him to put up some numbers this year.
Don't forget about my boy Brian Edwards over there. He has a relationship with Mariota.
Literally did.
And then
yeah, thanks for reminding me about Brian.
And not only that, but I'll remind you that this very same coaching staff took another wide receiver, number 9 overall, and he was tagged to Mariota in the first round. How'd that work out? It didn't work out. That's my point, is that it was horrible. And now he plays for the Jets and Corey Davis, who might not even play this year because they've got 3 better receivers.
Corey Davis did all right. Ish.
You know who?
Yeah, he was okay. It wasn't like anything. He wasn't first round worthy.
He's sizzle. Sizzle.
Yeah. You never played Corey Davis. And even when you did, you were concerned about it.
Bite your tongue, young man. I have played Corey
know my life, dude. I might have played Corey Davis.
I do know your life. I played in all the leagues with you guys.
And you've seen me play Corey.
Well, then full receipts there.
Oh shit! I want to get actually a little bit of word spoken here on Brandon Ayuk. Troy, we saw the negative camp report. I traded for Brandon Ayuk after his rookie year. I freaking love the dude. I love him hurdling. I think he's athletic as hell. I think this like doghouse Shanahan commentary is unfortunate. It definitely had an impact to start the year, but he had a good end. Then we're getting these reports now that he's not having like the coolest offseason, and Juwan Johnson is. And I'm picking up them both. But I don't know. I don't want to spend too much because we spent a lot of time already on Debo Samuel. But can you talk to me on Brandon Ayuk? Is this do you actually have some optimism here, or is this just like a play the numbers approach?
For me, it's kind of just playing the numbers. I was just looking who's available. And also, I'm just looking who's available right now, right in this spot. So you got like a couple rookies, and just Brandon Ayuk in the late eighth. Like I'm willing to take that upside, right? Because we've seen him perform. He's a good player, and the whole doghouse thing. Oh, it's such a bizarre. What happened with him where he just got benched for he was like the fourth receiver on the team at one point. I have no idea what was happening last year, but to me, he's talented, and late 8th round, I'm willing to take that chance on him. So yeah, I like Brandon. One thing I did want to mention, right? It's not about Brandon and you, but one thing I noticed, the RB dead zone has been popping off, right? Because the 7th round, a lot of running backs have gone, right? And the reason I mention this because a lot of guys that I've been targeting, right? The way my build was, normally the way
Pollard.
Yeah, my build is from Damien Harris all the way into CPAT, right? I don't the CPAT pick was gross, but to me, it's again, he's gonna get the opportunity. And fortunately, Sleeper doesn't have him as a running back wide receiver anymore. I'm still kind of salty about that, but he's gonna get the opportunity.
I was going back and forth and between Singletary and Patterson. Didn't like either
these
one.
guys like Penny and Edwards-Helaire, Pollard, Hunt. You're oh, these guys will be here, I'm over here at the end of the 8th, 9th turn. None of them were there. I'm
I thought they were going to be there too. I thought all of them are going to be there. So
Can we dive in and try to actually excavate a little value here for Whisper Nation and identify in this RB dead zone? We can sum it up here. We're going to be a little loose with the dead zone here, but these guys that are available a little bit later, right? Damien Harris, Kareem Hunt, Tony Pollard, CEH, Rashad Penny, James Cook. I'd say throw in Michael Carter, Patterson. All of these guys are all fair game. Pretty much after, I'd say, A.J. Dillon was taken. So that Damien Harris in the 7th round, now down till now. Who are the guys people should actually be keeping an eye on? Guys that can, one, help keep you going throughout the season and get you into those playoffs. And then 2, guys that actually could be playoff difference makers for you.
Kareem Hunt. Okay. For me, Kareem Hunt. We've seen his upside already in the past. Last year, we didn't get to see it because he got hurt. But to me, it's the same offensive system. If he's healthy, it's going to be Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt again. He's going to get, obviously, the pass-catching opportunities as well as goal line opportunities like we've seen in the past. So to me, he's one of the more proven commodities that you can get here. I also like Damien Harris. The problem with Damien Harris is that he doesn't catch any passes. So you're going to have to rely on the touchdowns, which he's going to get those opportunities. It's just not a sticky stat. But to me, Kareem Hunt, I absolutely love. And I was going to get him, but yeah, I got sniped back.
So many guys.
What do you think? What do you think, Big Travie?
So we're kind of picking a running back in this range.
Yeah, you really
do it for us. So I think I like Johnny's pick of Melvin Gordon here, and the reason is I love Javonte. I think all the advanced metrics are unbelievable on Javonte, but we got to start. We've got to stop disrespecting Melvin Gordon so much. He's still pretty good. They use him in the red zone, and he can catch passes, and he's got the shower narrative and with Russell Wilson because they played college ball together. So we've got some things lining up for Melvin Gordon. You can get him so late. I think that I think that Javonte should establish himself this year, but what if he doesn't, and that would take Melvin Gordon showing us something that he hasn't done yet, which is the, slowing down. I like him. I also like, not to pump up Johnny's team here, I like Devin Singletary for the same kind of reasons. Showed us, when somebody shows you what they can do, you believe them. And down the stretch last year, Devin Singletary, when given the opportunity, was running a ton and getting the volume that he needed to be a top 10 back down the stretch in the last month or so of the season. The other thing about Devin Singletary that's not being talked about a lot with Buffalo is the coaching staff not really loving what Dable was doing towards the end of his tenure, throwing as much as they did. And maybe they're trying to fix an offense. Maybe Sean McDermott's imprint is going to be on this offense a little bit more, which would cause them to run a little bit more. And I think that, James Cook is going to have a role, but expecting him to be,
it's not the Singletary role.
Yeah, it's not the Singletary role.
It's not. It's just straight up not. I wanted to throw in, I think, pointing on that of the roles there in Buffalo is an important point to bring up because it shows the roles different running backs have. And when we talk about Kareem Hunt, when we talk about Devin Singletary, even when we talk about Melvin Gordon, these guys are all with established roles as we expect for them to hold. And I think those are all really, really valuable in fantasy football. And I think those roles keep a high ceiling for most of these players, all of which I think they're going to maintain. The one name I'm going to throw out there in this range, because he is in a bit of a special situation, but that's Rashad Penny. who's right here, like Rashad Penny, the only thing holding against him, well, two things that are going up against him. One, the possibility of I don't want to even say illogical coaching. I just want to say volatile coaching. Volatile coaching is a possibility in Seattle, and health. That's the two things working against Rashad Penny. But again, last 6 weeks, a third of the season, this is the number one overall running back in the NFL who comes in with high draft capital, who now is dealing with a running back room full of less tenured faces than his own. The beat writer reports out of Seattle camp have been good so far, really encouraging. I think they're overboard. I think the guy who said that Rashad Penny is going to be getting 20 plus touches a game hasn't been paying attention to the offense that this Seattle Seahawks team runs. But nonetheless, you get 14, 15 touches out of Rashad Penny. Like, he's a back end RB1 for you, probably, just like we've seen whoever the running back there in Seattle is. So there you are, Whisper Nation, on a few of those ones to keep an extra eye on.
The Seattle blurb, 20 touches a game. Are they going to run 20 plays a game? Like,
right?
Yeah, like I don't know how he's going to get 20 touches unless they're in a lot of scripts where they're winning. And I don't know like if that's going to happen, but I think crazier things have happened, I guess.
I think the craziest thing I was hoping to have happen was Marquez Valdes-Scantling to slide 22 picks, Travis. I was going between him and Alan Lazard, but Marquez Valdes-Scantling right now, speaking of training camp reports, we've been talking a lot of the wide receiver room in Kansas City for obvious reasons, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Who is going to be the beneficiary of all these vacated targets? MVS has been a popular name as of late. Is that what you were thinking, Travi?
I really was arbitraging my entire Kansas City wide receiver situation. I took Juju, so I took MVS. So hopefully one of those is the guy, at least that's getting, either volume or the big shots. I think there was an interesting point I had heard Evan Silva make, that MVS is getting all the hype on things that don't really matter for football. Like, he's a leadership guy. Like, he's got this, he's like, he's like Pat Mahomes' best friend. And it's like, dude, okay. Like, we don't remember, I'm a Green Bay Packers fan. I'm old enough to remember that MVS was going to be the right-hand man to Aaron Rodgers. And he was playing so fast and he's incredible and all these things. So that's partly the reason why I'm not as bought in on Alan Lazard, because Rodgers hypes up these players, but quarterbacks hype up players all the time. And I don't know if that necessarily matters. I do want a piece of this, and so I planted 2 flags here. That's kind of what that was about.
I feel like, Johnny, what are you thinking on MVS? I know you made a trade earlier for Juju Smith-Schuster. We love Juju with the possibilities he brings. We've seen him do it before. How are you looking at the Kansas City wide receiver room today?
I do think that MVS is like the safest of the wide receiver group, but I really hope they put him in the slot. That's where I think that he could really benefit the most. And if they do that, then I think he has a lot bigger upside than if they put him like in that Robinson or even the Sammy Watkins role that they have on the outside.
There's no way they put him in the slot though, like with Juju there, right? Though, like
that's what I was thinking too.
No, that's what do you think? They asked about Juju, right? Like,
I thought you were saying MVS. So no. I thought that. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
so
I'm saying we agree then.
Yeah. If they put Juju in the slot, then I do think that he has the upside. That's where he needs to play in order to have that upside. But if they, move him to that outside role, that Sammy Watkins role, then that is a little troublesome because we've seen that just be mediocre. And then I do think then at that point, MVS would be the guy that you would want because he has the highest upside.
I'm so excited to see what happens in the Kansas City wide receiver room. Like, people have such strong takes they've made. It's going to be Sky Moore. Like, no, it's going to be Juju on this one. People are really coming out swinging. Troy, any takes you have on the Kansas City room before we move on?
I mean, I just agree with what everyone said. I feel like Juju, we've seen him be most successful really operating out of the slot. So if he can somehow play in the slot, but also Travis Kelce sometimes is in the slot. So how is that going to work out, right? But if we can see Juju play out of the slot, that'll be really excited. If they put him as an X all the time, like, I'm going to be less excited about it, but we're going to know early on, like, how they plan on utilizing him. But again, it's a crapshoot. I just think I know that I'm not excited about Mecole Hardman. That's the only thing I do know about the situation, but I feel like it could be either Juju, MVS, or Sky Moore. We'll see.
And anything elaborate on the Mecole one? I'm saying, hey, out of all of these wide receivers we're talking about, only one of these guys had 11 targets, 8 catches for over 100 yards in the final game of the season last year from Patrick Mahomes. Or is that just nope? Sorry, Mecole. It's not you, dude.
I'm just done. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just I was a Mecole truther, but I just can't anymore. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think we all get to that point at some point. Nope, I'm getting off the pot, and we don't even have to press the flusher. So with that, as we're coming down to the end of it here, Troy, I wanted to ask your take here. You took he's not Jalen Tolbert, who Johnny took. The round before that, you took Jahan Dotson, and we had talked a little bit about Drake London. We talked a little bit about Treylon Burks. It wasn't too long ago, rookie wide receivers were just going to burn a hole in your roster, and you really didn't do yourself any favors picking one up. But in the last couple of years, there seems to be at least one rookie wide receiver who's breaking the 1,000-yard mark, usually a couple who are flirting with it. It's now become a pick the receiver, the rookie receiver that's going to have a sizable impact. Jamar Chase, obviously, last year was an elite wide receiver coming in his rookie season. Can you talk to me a little bit about rookie wide receivers and then maybe with Dotson's approach to picking him up? Yeah,
sure, of course. So rookie wide receivers are scary. I will say that but I have to look at what the situation dictates. So in Washington, let's look at who they have around, right? It's Terry McLaurin, the shell of Curtis Samuel. We don't know what's going on with Curtis Samuel. He was injured, but are we really expecting him to really make a significant impact? I don't know. But Jahan Dotson, I believed in the talent in college, right? And then when he got the first round draft grade, I was pleasantly surprised he went 16 overall. But I'm like, okay, they got significant draft capital. I'm looking at the Commanders situation. They got absolutely nobody to throw to outside of Terry, really. And J.D. McKissick from the backfield. So, and I just believe that. And also, I like the camp reports that I've been hearing. So I say in the 13th round, why swing for the upside, right? We have no idea which one of these. I feel like we don't know which one of these rookie wide receivers is going to make this impact the fastest. But I believe in the talent, and he has the opportunity to produce. So I'd say late 12th. I don't mind taking a shot in that case.
I appreciate those takes. I think that's valuable as well. Travi, any insights here with rookie wide receivers? I mean, talent, opportunity, when those things have kind of worked together, we've seen some effective outputs for fantasy. Is there anything else we should incorporate?
Yeah, and the fact that we've just seen wide receivers be a little bit more ready over recent years. We've seen them come into the league a little bit more ready for the pro style. So you want to get a guy. I think that's part of the reason why I was late to Olave in the process, but I got more onto Olave because of his route running ability to separate. And a lot of these scouts, smarter than I, and developing, and looking at developing talent, said, look, this is one of the best route runners we've seen, not just in this draft class. So that's some of the things I look for is, can they play the NFL game right now? Because they're going to have a better chance for that opportunity that you mentioned there, Austin. And Dwayne McFarland does a really good job of looking at the routes. PFF, you can check his stuff out over there, looking at the routes that rookies run and that the NFL loves to run, like the percentage of the style of wide receiver routes that they run. And you can kind of see if they were good at those routes in college, they should be theoretically good at those routes in the NFL. Things happen and change, but that's kind of what I look for. Can they adjust? And then you see guys that can do that already and then explode. Then they explode like a Jamar Chase or a Justin Jefferson because they were good at separating. They did all the stuff that fundamentally, and then they had a either great opportunity like Jefferson or, a great situation with like Joe Burrow and Chase. Now, granted, those guys were really high talents, but we got a few of those in the first round this year. That's definitely a strength of this draft class was wide receiver. So
I think those are astute points, good ones to bring in there. And Whisper Nation, we are done with our mock draft. We've got this one now in the bag. Way to go, Whisper Nation. Johnny, Troy, Travis, and myself. What we're going to do now is move over to our notorious draft grades. The professor, by request with Professor Ron, who's always wanted us to break down our own. We'll go ahead and get those ones started. We'll give a rundown of the panel's teams first. Whisper Nation, you let us know how we did before we're going to go ahead then and break down your squads and let you know if we think you've got a championship contending team in the playoffs, on the bubble, or on the outside looking in. for this mock draft. Well, I will go ahead and just take first stab at it. We'll start over on the right side and work our way to Travi at the 101. I drafted at the 12 spot, excuse me, in this PPR setup, and I took Joe Mixon and DeAndre Swift there as my 1-2 with Breece Hall to round out my running back room. I wanted to get myself some running backs that were going to be decent volume, if not high volume, but that also had a chance to catch passes. And I was pretty darn happy to see DeAndre Swift available there with the 13th overall pick. I'm happy to swoop him up. Love what he's able to do on the ground and in the air. And Joe Mixon was finally that RB1, even on the top half of the RB1 scale. The only thing really working against him is health and possibly some more action from the other running back room, which I'm not totally concerned by. I like Breece Hall as my rookie running back for 2022. Was happy that he was there in the third. Then picked up DK Metcalf and went with essentially a bit of a wide receiver anchor approach on this one, not picking a wide receiver up until the fourth. Travi, Johnny, and I were having a bit of a spirited conversation about DK Metcalf's fantasy viability. I think DK Metcalf is about as solid as they come from a physical and skill point. I'm not too concerned with who his quarterback is because of what he's able to bring to the table. He's been an wide receiver one last year, even with questionable plays. I was fine to have him kind of be the anchor for my wide receiver room. And then I just tried to fill in as many high floor, decent ceiling wide receivers to follow. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London, Christian Kirk, Alan Lazard, and then, of course, Johnny's boy, Corey Davis, to round out the wide receiver core there. He tries to say I'd never pick him up. There he is for you, Johnny. I wanted to get
I said you never picked him up before.
Lies, bro. Just full of them. So Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London would presumably be the other two fill-ins. I like that on a matchup-based approach. Kyler Murray, high upside quarterback. He's got a shot to be the number one overall. I was happy to grab him there in the 5th round. Dallas Goedert and Albert O there as my tight ends. I usually like waiting on the tight ends as we go on further down, but where Dallas Goedert was at, I didn't see any other players that really grabbed my attention. And I think he does have a chance to be a bit of an answer, not just a jag for your tight end position this year. Dallas Goedert, I mean, I'm on the fence with him, but it was fine to grab him and pick him up in that spot. And then just added Justin Fields for a little bit of extra quarterback depth and Tyler Algier in the same thing for the running back spot. There's the team.
Yeah, I like this team. Like we were talking in that same conversation about DK Metcalf about my whatever my ability to draft wide receiver and be a guy that you want to consistently go to. I actually like the way you recovered. If you would have told me you were going to start with DK Metcalf, I thought the rest of your wide receiver core was really good. Even if I hate DK Metcalf, right? Like I thought Amon-Ra St. Brown could be your staple wide receiver too. And I'm really warming on Christian Kirk. I think if we look at the Doug Peterson offenses, they throw a ton, and it's fun to dunk on that contract they gave him. But sometimes when you're the worst team in the league, you got to give out contracts so people come to your team. And I think that he is a guy that stands to be the number one pass catcher in that offense, and why not in the 9th, and same with Alan Lazard in the 10th. So for me, I think it's a firm playoff team, if not a contender, because like Breece Hall's my 3rd running back. Sign me up. Like, let's go.
I kind of like that one there.
Yeah.
I was
gonna. Oh, sorry. I was
go
gonna
for it.
say,
go.
yeah. No, your running backs, I feel like they're obviously gonna carry your team, right? And I like the way you built your wide receivers around your running backs. I feel like they all have good upside, opportunity to get a lot of volume in their offenses. So I like the way you built your team. I think at least playoffs, I think you definitely have a shot at.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that take. Troy, how about you? You want to give us a breakdown on your squad selecting in the 4th round?
Yeah, I'll definitely give you a breakdown. So Austin Eckler, I only have to tell y'all again his upside. So I kind of did like an anchor running back, right? So I got my RB1 and I just went wide receiver, right? So high upside wide receivers, Hill, AJ Brown, Marquise Brown, Brandon Cooks. So guys who have high upside are going to get a lot of volume, especially Marquise Brown with DeAndre Hopkins, who's going to be suspended for 6 games. I built it so, okay, if he's going to be the wide receiver one, he's going to get volume. And Zach Ertz, I know he's old. I know he's kind of gross, but he did really well last year, and he got targeted highly in that offense. So what's going to happen, especially with D-Hop missing so many games, it's going to be the Marquise Brown, Zach Ertz show. So I like that upside there. And then Brandon Ayuk, again, he's the guy that with my wide receiver 5, like I To me, he has that upside where I really like that spot. And then I got guys like A.J. Dillon. So A.J. Dillon has a chance to step up this year. I don't believe he's going to be that much of a pass catcher. Now that Devontae Adams is gone, I believe Aaron Jones is going to take the pass catching. But I think you're going to use A.J. Dillon on short yardage and the goal line because he's 250 pounds. Like he should be used on the goal line. So I
Just
think
ask
we
that
see
mascot.
Exactly. And we
mascot
saw
how
what he
that
did to
turned
the
out.
mascot. He should be drafted in the first round just for that. But nah, because the way I approach my running backs, right? I mean, either you catch passes or you have an opportunity to score touchdowns. So CPAT, we saw what he did last year. He scored touchdowns. He was efficient, but he also could catch passes. So that's why I got him. And Hines, we saw a lot of hype during this offseason, but he's that guy just late that we know he's going to catch passes. But not just that. Matt Ryan is the quarterback. We know he's not a mobile guy. So on third downs, he's going to be checking down to Nyheim Hines a lot. So that's one of the reasons I targeted him late. I obviously waited on quarterback, Tom Brady, the GOAT. I don't really have to explain why I went with him. Usually I like my mobile quarterbacks, but after I got sniped on Jalen Hurts, there was no one I wanted to get immediately after that. I was thinking Lance, but somebody sniped him for me too. But so then once I saw Lance gone, I'm like, all right, I'm just waiting. And then again, might as well. We know Tom Brady is going to be the QB1, so I was perfectly fine waiting on that. Yeah. Dotson, got him late as my wide receiver 6. Fill in. I think he has upside even as a rookie. Even if the Commander offense, I don't expect to be good. I expect him to get, a decent target share. That's why I picked him. Mark Ingram, I don't know what's going on with Alvin Kamara, but even so, I like the thunder and lightning approach we've seen from the Saints offense. So I like him late. And Brian Robinson, I feel like he's going to be a touchdown thief, right? Antonio Gibson, I'm worried about Antonio Gibson because I feel like McKissick's going to steal passes. Brian Robinson's a big boy, and you're going to use this big boy in short yardage in the goal line. So, again, when I look at running backs late, do you catch passes or do you have an opportunity to score touchdowns? That's what I like in my running back. So that's how I built my team.
I love that simple metric there of my running back needs to be able to do one of two things: catch passes or score touchdowns. And if they don't, it's an easy X. Troy, I'm looking at this squad and I'm like a little smitten by it, if I'm honest. I'm like kind of in love with this team because I feel like this would be a squad at the end of the year. You'd be like, there's a real pathway where you're like, how the hell did he get all of these guys in the draft? You know what I mean? Like Tyreek Hill, AJ Brown, Marquise Brown could all be wide receiver 1s. And then like Tom Brady could do his Tom Brady thing, be a top half QB1 there. And then you get him super late, and like Zach Ertz could ball out. Like, I don't know. I just look at this squad and I see it could be magic almost at every position. You waited on your RB2 and you get AJ Dillon. Like, we all know the possibility there. So this for me is a firm playoff team that's got championship tendencies to it.
I think go ahead. Go ahead, Johnny.
Well, the one thing I do want to say to just keep piggybacking off the Zach Ertz pick here. Especially in those first 6 games, they're pretty difficult. You got, Kansas City, the Rams, Carolina, Philly, and then Seahawks, and then New Orleans, right? When you looked at when Zach Ertz came over, Ertz was his safety blanket. And then you look at our offensive line here, and it's not better than what it was last year. And so what ends up happening is, I'm a big fan of Marquise Brown, but Ertz becomes that major check down guy. And that's what you saw last year. And I definitely think it continues this year.
Yeah, I think people think of the Cardinals as this high-flying offense. They use 12 personnel more than you actually think. Like, they run the ball a ton. They're actually kind of an old-school team in a lot of ways. I just wanted to piggyback off what Austin said really quickly before we move on. The dichotomy of your players here, Troy, is really great. You went with the upside swings, I think, in Hill, Brown, and even the other Brown, but then the safety in Brandon Cooks, the safety in Zach Ertz, the safety in Tom Brady, right? You went with the upside in A.J. Dillon, but then the safety with Austin Eckler, at least to start the year. So I think, initially I wanted to grade it like a playoff team that like is going to be a contender, but I think it actually could just be a contender from the outright as long as you get some of the pieces like AJ Dillon to break your way, or one of those two, one of those deep RBs
he doesn't even need weird shit to happen. Like Hines is probably going to be an RB3, with like with
in PPR, absolutely. Yeah.
Without anything else weird happening.
Yeah.
Johnny.
All right. I wanted to do something. I wanted to take a page out of Don Flick's book and just do something completely out of my norm. And so I did. And it made me feel very uncomfortable because I took 3 straight wide receivers in the first 3 rounds with Jefferson, Mike Evans, Higgins. I really loved it. I thought Travis was going to steal Higgins from me, and I was about to scream. I actually, hot take is Higgins will finish higher than Jamar Chase this year. I think that definitely happens. And then Dave Montgomery in the 4th, didn't really like that. That was an auto pick, but ended up surfing it out and actually kind of did okay with it. Herbert is my quarterback. Dirty
Nice.
Herb's in the 5th. Dalton Schultz. I do think that, in a PPR league, I think he's going to see a lot of targets. I do think that he's going to be really good this year. Hopkins, again, I had stacked my wide receivers so much, and I didn't like the other kind of values that were going there. Maybe could have taken a running back. I thought more running backs would have fallen to me, but so I was like, I could sit on a 6-game suspension with the wide receivers I have. Then I was able to get Melvin Gordon in the 8th. I need another running back, so I got Singletary, and then Kenny G was there in the 10th. So I'm a big fan of Kenny G this year. I think his value is super low, so I'm grabbing him like every draft I can. And then Khalil Herbert, because like I said, wasn't super confident in the Monty pick as far as staying healthy. I do think it's going to be a productive running game. And so just getting Herbert to handcuff, I needed to do that. Got TDP. I think that he's going to be the running back that you're going to ultimately want at the end of the year for the 49ers. And then Tolbert and Paris Campbell, 2 of my big late round gems, I think that are going to really pop up. I think Tolbert, Travis, I've talked about this a couple times. I do think Tolbert has a low key shot as being the rookie of the year at the wide receiver position, just because he's stepping in. He's stepping into, you look at,
Gallup might be out for a while.
Right. Gallup might not be back till mid-November. And then, so he's starting opposite of CeeDee Lamb. And then there's also some talk, depending on when Gallup comes back, where Tolbert moves to, right? If he moves to that number 1 spot and they do end up moving CeeDee Lamb to the slot, which is a more conducive kind of for his talents, then I still think that he gets peppered and gets that Amari Cooper role. But then again, if they, hey, I'm going to keep CeeDee Lamb on the outside and then Amari Cooper, well, it's very beneficial. That slot role, you get a lot of targets. So Tolbert, I do think, has a outside dart throw to be the rookie of the year for the wide receiver position.
Yeah, I want to jump in real quick because I will say the 2 spots, because we were obviously next to each other. You sniped me on Higgins and you sniped me on Tolbert. Those were the main snipes because I was like, because I love Tolbert. The rookie of the year thing, that's kind of spicy. I got to think about that one. But I do love Tolbert late for all the reasons that you said. But man, yeah, I like your builder, your team. Obviously, your wide receiver start was crazy.
Yeah,
the Monty pick was the only one I was a little iffy on, but obviously got auto pick there. But everything else, I like your team build a lot. Definitely playoff team.
Shoot, it's like this draft could have gone off the rails so bad.
Yeah,
I mean, it honestly could have, but then I think the Melvin Gordon Singletary plus the Herbert to solidify really sent this one home for you. So I think contender firmly and like really could dominate if things go your way. This is a really good build. I think you lucked out a little bit, but that's
definitely did
too. I think that's all part of it.
I'm right there with you, Travis, 100% with it. It's like his running backs, David Montgomery, Melvin Gordon, or Singletary. Yeah. Like, that's fine. It's not a hole. And then the reason why I'm in on this one is if you go with the wide receiver-based team, for me at least, you got to hit at those 2 streamable positions, quarterback and tight end. I think you did just that. So I'm liking this squad. You don't have holes at the running back position. I'm there on Troy and Travis rankings. We're firmly in the playoffs, probably closer to a contender. Our last one here, Big Trav, you're in the 101 spot. Break it down.
So I went Christian McCaffrey at the 101. We talked a little bit about that versus JT. I don't think you can go wrong there. JT's probably safer. Leonard Fournette, I know he's getting a lot of bad publicity right now, but we've actually seen this guy do it. Like, he comes in fat and then he trims down, and like he's going to do what he does. Like, Fat Lenny is a joke because that's what he's done before. So I'm not worried about it. We know Brady trusts him. He's going to at least start with the volume.
He giggles when he gets hit.
Yeah,
gonna be
I
fun.
like him. So in the 8th round, I got Ramondre Stevenson. I waited all the way to the 8th to get another running back when I started with the RB Robust, and then got Rachaad White just in case in the 10th round, who I'm really in on as a a solidified handcuff this year that could be huge upside. Daryl Williams is another guy I think people aren't really taking into account why they signed Daryl Williams, like to be the Chase Edmonds replacement, but then also a guy that's done well at the goal line. So we need to not forget that. And then Raheem Mostert is just really a cheap upside play that I think, will probably get steamed up a little bit, but he's ran the offense before as the single soul back for this Shanahan style offense. And I think he's just like the upside's there. He'll probably get hurt after 3 games, but in the 14th round, whatever. Wide receiver heavy in rounds 4 through 7 went Allen Robinson, Rashad Bateman, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Gabe Davis. It was really simple to me, either really good offenses that can throw just the piss out of the ball, or could be the number one in their option, and that's Rashad Bateman. He was the one there for me, and I think, he and Gabe Davis's ADP is getting steamed up, but I'm here for the investment. I'm hoping 2 of these guys really break out, and then I can kind of piecemeal the other wide receivers or flex on my roster. And MVS, we talked about just trying to plant flags on the KC offense. I went Kyle Pitts in the 3rd. This was the one pick that didn't feel right. I felt like I was reaching a bit, but at the turn, sometimes you have to do that. I saw what happened at wide receiver ahead of me, and I just didn't really love reaching all the way up for a wide receiver here. I loved Higgins. I loved Pittman, but didn't really feel right about it. So I went with value with Pitts, and I think, he is a wide receiver playing tight end. He's a 1,000-yard tight end in his rookie season. We don't really see guys of his mold, and he checked all the boxes. So now all we need is the super breakout year. And I think if there's one position we can count on Mariota hitting, it's the tight end. So I'm in on Kyle Pitts. He just needs to score more touchdowns. I think he will. Trey Lance in the 9th. Troy mentioned I sniped him here, but I didn't get Jalen Hurts, so I went with Trey Lance. And we were talking, there isn't another guy. Yeah, for a couple more rounds, there wasn't, but Trey Lance is here. And I think he does have QB1 overall in his range of outcomes, just at the ability that he has to run the football, plus the weapons he has on offense. And then I just kind of hedge that bet with Kirk Cousins, who I think that offense is sneaky top 5 upside with the Minnesota Vikings. And if that's the case, he could be a top 6 QB. And so that was my build.
Pretty good build over here on this one. This to me, Travis, is such a swing for the fences squad. Gabe Davis, Juju Smith-Schuster, Allen Robinson, Rashad Bateman, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. All of these, you could have 5 wide receiver 1-2s here. You also might not have one on it when it's all said and done. I don't think that happens, but that's just how it is. I like the way you built the running backs, though, CMC, Fournette, and even Ramondre and White and the other ancillary pieces that came in here. You kept that theme going with the quarterback, Trey Lance, Kirk Cousins. Again, Trey Lance might not even be the starter for his own team. Kirk Cousins, we do expect a bump up there, though, so you're pretty safe on that front, and Kyle Pitts is exciting. So you're in the playoffs. For me, it's a volatile team. It could go either direction, though, but I like you in the playoffs.
Yeah, I would say, look, the name of the game is upside, right? And your team's full of it. So that's how you win. That's how you win championships, right? You go for upside. You can't play it safe with all your picks. So that's the way I see your team. So I think, it could be volatile in some spots, but at the end of the day, you could win the whole damn thing as well. So that's what you need to build. So
yep, I agree. I definitely need some playoffs.
In the playoffs for you, Johnny?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, that's the panels teams here. Whisper Nation, let us know who you think did the best between Big Travie, Troy King, Johnny Game Time Hicks, and myself in the comments below. Before we get to the rest of Whisper Nation's draft here, though, want to say thank you, Troy, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Troy.
And where can the people get to know you a little bit better? And is there anything you're working on that we should keep an eye out for?
Of course. Well, again, I appreciate you guys having me on. You can find me at T King Mode, pretty much on all social media platforms. Twitter is my home base, but yeah, T King Mode. You can find all my work at Football Guys. So Football Guys on Wednesday nights, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I do a mailbag show with my friends Dave Kluge and Victoria Geary. We're answering all your questions, so make sure you check that out. Also, I contribute to the Fantasy Playbook by Kyle Yates, so you can see about 5-minute videos of just me breaking down some players like top 5, right, running backs or sleepers or anything like that. But yeah, follow me at T King Mode on pretty much all social media platforms. And I appreciate you guys again for having me.
There you
Dude,
go, Troy.
it's
You are welcome
awesome having you.
anytime. It's
Yeah.
awesome to have you on. Awesome to draft alongside of you. Say what up to our boy Dave for
Of
us.
course, I
and
definitely will.
we look forward to the next time. Thanks,
You
Troy.
too. Appreciate you, Troy.
And Whisper Nation, before we get to the rest of the draft, if you enjoy all of the incredible guests that we bring on, giving you a wider perspective on this thing we call life, just kidding, fantasy football, just kidding, they're the same thing, go ahead and hit us with that thumbs up. But let's get back to it. Yeah, the subscribe while you're at it. Why not? It's just one more button. All right, boys. Well, it's the three amigos here. We're going to jump now into the rest of Whisper Nation's draft. Moving, let's just bounce it back to Don Flick. Let's keep it going this way. He takes Jonathan Taylor in the 102 spot and gets Javonte Williams there as his number 2 running back. I'm going to stop that right now. I promise y'all. He goes and gets Elijah Mitchell. Just kidding. As his 3rd running back there with Kenneth Walker the 3rd. Didn't Kenneth say he'd rather go by Ken? Ken Walker.
Yeah,
he's been getting
he's
amped up.
He's an adult now, dude. He's in the NFL. He's an adult.
He's been getting really excited watching the Ryan Gosling.
Kenneth
still
is what his
out.
mom calls him.
And Kenneth Gainwell, man, he's got a lot of Kenneths now over on his team. There, I didn't even realize that.
That's also why he wants to go by Ken.
Yeah, he's got the Ken team here. Anyway, so Jonathan Taylor, Javonte Williams, Elijah Mitchell, Kenneth Walker, and Kenneth Gainwell there as his running backs. He's got Josh Allen, the one and only, as his quarterback. Let's see what he does for the wide receiver positions. He takes Mike Williams as his wide receiver 1 in the 4th round. Devonta Smith there is his wide receiver 2 in the 6th, with Hunter Renfrow in the 7th. Chase Claypool there in the 9th, Sky Moore in the 10th, and Jameson Williams, the injured one, in the 12th round, but he will be back someday. Wow. And then Jasheki and Noah Fant there as his 2 tight ends. Big Travie. When I look at this team, I look at a squad that's it's kind of interesting, actually. Like I don't see any holes, and I actually just see some question marks that are intriguing question marks. I think it's a good team. What do you think?
Yeah, it was hard to kind of judge this because I want to say maybe it's a bubble team just based on the build of wide receiver, but it's not. It's definitely a playoff team. It's probably a team that could just smash the roof off, especially like we were talking my team's pure upside. This team might be pure upside, if not the runner-up for pure upside, because look, we love TDP at the value, but Elijah Mitchell is the guy right now. He's the guy. Yeah. Like, we have to just acknowledge that. Devonta Smith, what we're not talking about with A.J. Brown coming over is how good that could be for Devonta Smith. Hunter Renfrow, you don't do what Hunter Renfrow or Amon-Ra St. Brown did unless you're good at
football.
Right. Chase Claypool, another guy that scored 10 touchdowns as a rookie, and you don't do that usually unless you're good at football. So you get him in the 9th round. I love the value there. The only thing I really actually don't like is the tight ends, and me and Johnny could probably argue till we're blue in the face on Mike Gesicki. I just think he's the odd man out with Tua there. I think he's I don't think that yes, we saw Kittle dominate in targets, but he hasn't really over the last couple years. Yeah. And I think that we have 2 big target hogs ahead of Gesicki. But you got him in the 11th, and then you paired him with a guy in Noah Fant. Like, you'll drop Noah Fant, you'll go get another waiver tight end. That's fine. I think this team is really good. I think it's firmly in the playoffs. Could be a contender. Just need some things at wide receiver to really break the right way. But you got the upside there.
Yeah, that's it.
I think Donnie heard us talking last week about how, he's been trying some things, and this time he was like, you know what, I'm going to win this mock draft.
Yeah.
I'm going to show these boys what's up. So I like this draft. I think he did really well.
Big fan.
In the playoffs for me. I am just a little concerned about those wide receivers like Devonta Smith, Hunter Renfrow, Chase Claypool, Sky Moore. These could all be droppable guys. Probably not. But
so far we have 5 teams in the playoffs, boys. We only are allowed 3 more.
Yeah,
all the rest
I just want to know the bad teams
out of there. Yeah,
let's see if we can find it out. Moving over to X Straight. What's the rest of it? X Straight Castle.
X Straight Cash.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Straight cash, homie?
Dude. Randy
Straight
Moss.
cash, homie.
Randy
All right,
Moss.
we're just going straight cash, homie, in this 5 spot. Cooper Kupp, last year's Triple Crown winner. Let's see what he did with the rest of his wide receivers. He takes Deontay Johnson in the 3rd. He gets Bobby Trees, Robert Woods there in the 7th. Christian Watson, the truth, in the 9th. That might be, truthfully speaking, a little bit rich, even though, and I fucking love this guy. We'll see, though. Jarvis Landry in the 11th. Jamison Crowder in the 13th. Robbie Anderson, no, he's not retiring, in the 14th. His first running back off the board is Aaron Jones in the 2nd. I think that was that's a nice value pick there. Travis Etienne in the 4th, Josh Jacobs in the 5th, James Robinson in the 10th. I love him, but we'll see, bro. Marlon Mack there in the 12th. How does this affect Marlon Mack? That's always the perennial question. And then let's take a look at his quarterback, Jalen Hurts, in the 6th. The other streamable position, tight end, Dawson Knox in the 6th. So to kind of summarize this one, Johnny, his starting running backs, you presume, would be Aaron Jones and Travis Etienne, with Josh Jacobs and Marlon Mack on the back burner. Cooper Kupp, Deontay Johnson. And then if this is 3 wide receivers, Robert Woods or Christian Watson or Landry as your 3rd starter. Jalen Hurts then and Dawson Knox. Certainly some upside there, but is this too top heavy of a team for you too, Johnny? Or do you think that he made it work and hedged some of the positions?
Good thing he pays his league dues in straight cash, homie, because I don't think he's going to be getting any dues out at the end of the year, unfortunately, with this build.
Oh!
Yeah,
Also, why is that a good thing he pays in cash if he's going to lose it? Does it matter?
Because the league gets the money.
I'm saying, so he doesn't just
they get it up front.
Like,
okay.
As opposed to like, hey, I'll pay for my credit card.
Sorry,
yeah, dude. Because here's the reality is like, okay, I do like, this top 2 wide receivers, but then, I'm concerned with the rest of the wide receivers. Now, I'm a big Bobby Trees fan, but him coming off of an injury right now,
going to a run heavy team.
Yeah, it just, there's a lot of concern there. Then you're looking at the running backs. I love Aaron Jones. I love the value you got there, but then Travis Etienne, again, I do think that there's potential for him to pop for sure and be your RB2, but then you got to look at what Doug does in that for general and history. He uses multiple running backs. So we could all be hyped on ETN and want him to play more, but it's just not how that coaching staff coaches. Then you're looking at, okay, well then, but he got James Robinson. So shouldn't that be, I think this is one of those situations where you're like, in this case, it's not good to have both running backs or the handcuff, because it's not like it's going to be a 1-for-1 replacement if one of those guys goes down, or if James Robinson can't do what we hope he can return to. Now, Josh Jacobs could be a value, but then there's also reality where like Zamir White takes over. It's a timeshare. And then also just Dawson Knox. I'm a lot lower this year on Dawson Knox than last year. I think last year was kind of a mesh of all good things happening, and the fact that Josh Allen was able to draft him in fantasy. Don't think he's going to have him on his fantasy team again this year. And then also they brought in another tight end, so I could definitely see OJ Howard getting some of those snaps and some of those target share. So I do think that I think Kupp, Aaron Jones, Hurts, and Deontay could float this team a little bit, but I think at the end of the day, it'd be the outside looking in, or at least a playoff bubble here.
What about you, Travis?
Yeah, I want to put this team in the playoffs, especially because, as Johnny said, you have such heavy hitters like Cooper Kupp and Aaron Jones, but I don't think I can. I think it's on the bubble. I just have too many questions about the other guys, and Johnny kind of did a great job talking about it. I do think he's got value on ETN here, but there is a floor. There's a floor for Deontay Johnson, who we're not talking about the fact that Ben could have just been the reason why Deontay soaked up so many targets, their play style. Now,
he can still be good, but just not that good.
Yeah, I don't know if I want him there in that range of like the other guys with huge upside that were going in that area. Robert Woods, I'm on, but again, like it's got to be a guy you're adding to a core of like 5 or 6 wide receivers. I don't really want him I don't want to really be in on him as a guy I need, as you said, Austin. And that's the thing is I could talk myself into this team, but I'm just not going to do it.
That's it.
It's a bubble team.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bubble team for me too. And Christian Watson, James Robinson, they're sitting on my dynasty squad. I love these two guys in so many ways. They're on my bench right now, and that's where I think they'll probably be the majority of the year. And so for redraft, it makes it pretty sketchy. I think James Robinson is amazing. I think his work ethic is awesome. I think we can. For me, I'm done with the undrafted narrative. Like this guy's gotten a year and a half of like RB1 performances under his belt. Like he's a great athlete. He's a really good running back. He overachieved. He did it, but he's still coming off of a horrible injury. Give him a year. Give him a year and a half. is like, don't count on anything from Snoop Connor is a name that I think we should be paying a little bit more attention to because Travis Etienne was not drafted by this regime. We'll see how well he recovers from that Liz Frank. We'll see how diverse a running back core they get going. James Robinson's just not going to be available. And if Travis Etienne is going to be a diverse weapon for the Jaguars, that leaves Snoop Connor there to pick up a lot of carries. He wasn't bad in Old Miss. Keep that name in the back of your mind, Whisper Nation. Moving on here to Smooth 1074. That sounds like a nice FM jazz station. 1074 over in Miami here. Who in the 6th, 7th spot takes, what is that? 6th spot takes Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, and Alvin Kamara in rounds 2 through 3. Doesn't grab another running back until Ronald Jones there in the 10th and Deonta Foreman there in the 11th. Some pretty meaty running backs here. Let's see what you did at the wide receiver position. You took Terry McLaurin. I was going between DK and Terry McLaurin. I went DK. Terry McLaurin there, though, is your first wide receiver off the board. You get Michael Thomas, Adam Thielen, along with Treylon Burks, Garrett Wilson, and Mecole Hardman there as the supplementary pieces. Garrett Wilson. I say Greg Wilson. Garrett Wilson there out of the Jets. His tight end is George Kittle. I do kind of like that. You got him there in the 5th round. Matt Stafford is your quarterback. You selected him there in round 8. Oh, I'm looking at a nice running back room. I'm looking at least one good wide receiver with some question marks and upside there available at the other spots. Adam Thielen, if he keeps it going, that's going to be really exciting. If Treylon Burks is as good as the truthers hope he is, that's going to be really good. Who did I start off with on this one? Travi, is it Travi? How do you feel here about Smooth 1074's build?
Oh, I think it's another bubble team, and it's not because it's, again, I'm trying to talk myself into this team. I love Kittle, but again, there's too much variable with Trey Lance coming in for me to really invest that early on Kittle at tight end. I love Terry McLaurin, but similar to Deontay Johnson, now you got better value than Deontay Johnson, but I think it's similar where we could just see a situation where he's a firm wide receiver 2, but can you count on him to be that wide receiver 1 week in and week out? Yeah, I just think it's a bubble team. I don't love the wide receivers, especially if Kamara's suspended. I don't think he will be this year based on what we talked with Drew Davenport. Check that video out. It's on the website or on the YouTube right now. But that being said, yeah, I won't ramble anymore. I think it's a bubble team for me.
I think I'm with you there. How about you, Johnny?
Yeah, I think it's a bubble team. I will say I do like the Adam Thielen pick and pair it with Terry McLaurin. But yeah, I ultimately it just sucks because McLaurin could be so good, but they just don't target him enough. So, yeah.
Like the scenario for this team is like you get to week 3, you're starting Terry McLaurin, Thielen's hurt, Michael Thomas is hurt. Who are you starting at wide receiver?
Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry are both hurt.
Yeah, like
you don't look. I love Mecole Hardman. He's on my dynasty team. Full disclosure, but I don't like needing Mecole Hardman. And Smooth 1074 might need Mecole Hardman as soon as week 2. Yeah. So we'll see on that one. Classic Mike drafts in the 7th spot with Dalvin Cook, running back 1 for him. Saquon Barkley, running back 2 in the 2nd round. Let's keep it with the running backs. Round 6, he gets Miles Sanders. Round 9, Michael Carter. Next round, Daryl Henderson. He closes his draft out with Gus Edwards in the 14th. That is a name I think we're going to see climb up a little bit on ADP. Keenan Allen is his first wide receiver, gone in the 3rd round. Cortland Sutton climbing up boards in the 4th. Elijah Moore in the 8th, and then he gets to rounds 11 through 13, wide receivers Jacoby Myers, DJ Chark, and Van Jefferson. Darren Waller is his tight end, who he selects in round 5. Russell Wilson's his quarterback, who he gets 2 rounds later in 7. Johnny, is this team on the bubble, in the playoffs, championship contender, or just straight outside looking in?
Oof, I'm on the borderline of championship contender and definitely, like, he's definitely in the playoffs, but this team is nasty. Like Dalvin Cook, Saquon, I think both those guys can make a run at number 1 overall running back. I almost took Dalvin Cook at number 3 spot, but again, I wanted to like switch it up.
You're taking him 101.
Yeah, I've taken him 1-on-1, and I would do it honestly in a league and not look twice. And then Saquon, like I said, I do think that this could be a year where Saquon bounces back and could hit that number one with the new coaching staff. And then you're looking at Sutton. Sutton, I believe, could be a number one overall wide receiver with getting a guy like Russell Wilson now, who is very efficient very accurate. And then, you have that quarterback to get that double dip. Always love my double dips. I think Waller is a solid tight end. You often see Josh McDaniels always, use tight ends heavily. So I do think Waller is pretty safe. And then again, backing up with Sanders and getting, Henderson. And like, people are really, really down on Michael Carter, and rightfully so. I understand, like, Breece Hall was drafted and, he's like a really highly touted, but we have seen time and time again, these starting running backs get injured in these types of offenses that the Jets run. And guess what? We've already seen Michael Carter when he comes in, he gets the workload. He's a very good running back. So like, I do really, and then my boy, Jacoby, getting him all the way in the 11th. Love it. Love this team.
So it's in the playoff, strongly championship contending, flirting in that space, or did you go full contender?
Yeah. I'm going to go fully contending. I think,
you're full send.
Moore.
You're going full.
I'm full. I'm
full
full.
send.
Yeah. Because
I missed
over the Elijah Moore pick too. And I'm like, damn.
Okay. What about you, Travi?
Yeah, I want to get there, and I think I probably am. Just Dalvin Cook and Saquon Barkley kind of do it. Plus, what Johnny didn't say about Michael Carter is his pass catching prowess. And when we get these late running backs, that's what we want. And we've already seen him get high target games in this offense. So it's not like a typical San Fran where they're not targeting the backs all that much. This offense did, and that could be dangerous should anything happen to Breece Hall, or should Breece Hall take some time to get going. Also love the Daryl Henderson. Like we've already seen if Cam Akers is out, Daryl Henderson's basically an RB1, at least top 15. I don't love the bench wide receivers like Jacoby Myers, DJ Shark, but Van Jefferson's a good contingency wide receiver. I think there's a path there. The only real gripe I have is with those bench wide receivers and maybe Darren Waller, but the upside's clearly there, and that's all you could ask for with a tight end. So I'm with it. Contender's good for me.
Yeah. I'm in the playoffs on this one. I'm a little bit of the Debbie Downer on this team here. I see some of. I hate it so fucking much, Travis. Oh my God. No. It's just, I see some of the downside. I'm not on the Saquon Barkley train. I've just watched that man run for 2 yards and get tackled too many times. I'm not sold he's going to have that breakaway ability. I love the Brian Daboll system. I love a healthy Saquon. I admittedly have been burned taking Saquon in the top 5 in multiple years in redraft and having him just have his knee or his ankle just really, really, shit the bed for me. So I'm not sold that's coming back around. And after that, like Miles Sanders, we all get it as the industry. I am taking to heart his tone of voice he had when he was speaking like 2 weeks ago about when he was talking. I forget the NBC. I think it was like an NBC reporter. I don't remember the interview specifically, but he's like, look, don't draft me. Our system is going to diversify touches. I'm just not going to get the volume that you need, and I'm not going to get it in the positions that you need it to come by. What did Troy just say? He needs his running back to either catch passes or score touchdowns. You can't bank on Miles Sanders to do either of those things. All you can bank on Miles Sanders to be is the best running back in a run-heavy system. That doesn't translate to fantasy points. Logically, it sounds so nice. He's moving on to my do not draft board. Miles Sanders is. Like, I get it. It's all there, and that's what makes him a fucking ghost. Like, it should be there, and it's just not. So I'm taking that one. And then I'm with Travis on the bench wide receivers. I just think that those all could be droppable candidates. And if Keenan Allen and Cortland Sutton aren't wide receiver ones, then you're just kind of not stoked. So, but I like the squad. I think it was a well-built team. I think the value is there. I just have some concerns about some of these other places. I'm going in the playoffs, but I do respect the championship contender rank from the fellow panelists, Johnny and Travis, on this one. Moving on here to our boy Pizza Belly, who in the 8th spot goes Najee Harris, who's in line. It looks for another monster workload of a season. His running backs are Cam Akers in the 4th, Chase Edmonds in the 8th, James Cook, Dalvin Cook's brother, there in the 9th. He gets Debo Samuel, first wide receiver off the board there in the 2nd, Michael Pittman in the 3rd, Jerry Jeudy in the 5th, Rondale Moore in the 10th, Michael Gallup in the 12th, with Sammy Watkins closing it out there in the 14th. There's our boy, Travis. His quarterback is Dak Prescott with Derek Carr as a backup. TJ Hawkinson he gets in the 6th round. Travis, where do you see Pizza Belly's team? How are you looking at it, and what's your ultimate ranking?
Oh, I like so many of the players, but I think I'm gonna go.
I don't like them together.
I think it's an on the bubble / playoff team for me. So like that's a blend. I know I'm cheating, but that's kind of where I'm at with it because I love the talent of Debo Samuel, Michael Pittman, and Jerry Jeudy. The problem is their floors are really low based on like regression, the offenses they play in being low volume, and then Jerry Jeudy could be just the odd man out with all the other good wide receivers going on there too. TJ Hawkinson just hasn't shown us an ability to rise above his circumstances. So I'm really not as in on TJ. And I think he could be an odd man out, especially with the emergence of Amon-Ra St. Brown. Dak Prescott, great value. Derek Carr, the quarterbacks aren't the issue here. I do like some of these running backs. I think that's a strength. Najee Harris, Cam Akers, then to go Chase Edmonds and James Cook for some upside later. Would have liked to see you get a couple more guys just with Akers coming back from injury. But again, I think it's a bubble team. I'm actually going to be a little convicted here. I think it's a bubble team for me.
What about you, Johnny?
Yeah, I think ultimately it's a bubble team for me. Like I have some concerns about some of the running backs, but then I do really like Chase Edmonds. I do like the fact, like you said, he got TJ Hawkinson, which I do think is not going to be as good as last year, but I do really like Irv Smith. That was a nice pickup there. But yeah, I think ultimately it'll be probably a bubble team.
Yeah, Hawkinson's kind of in the Goddard camp for me now too. I'm right. It kind of sucks because that guy's got a lot of good things going for him. Moving over, and I'm with you too. I'm on the bubble here for Pizza Belly. Easy Daddy in the 9th spot takes Jamar Chase, with his other wide receivers being Chris Godwin in the 6th, Chris Olave in the 8th, Russell Gage in the 9th, Tim Patrick in the 11th, and Bell there in the 13th. My tone of voice isn't indicating how I feel about this at all.
Very monotone.
Mark Andrews is his tight end. Ezekiel Elliott, J.K. Dobbins, Damien Harris. Pull it together, Austin. Damian Pierce here. Let's try to be objective with this reading. I think Easy Daddy. This team was auto-drafted. Is that right?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, there we go. That's the first thing that's making some sense about this build. Okay, and then Patrick Mahomes is his quarterback 1, with Aaron Rodgers being his quarterback 2. I don't think we need to delve into this too deeply, given it was an auto-drafted squad. I'm looking at question marks all around. I'm seeing Ezekiel Elliott, J.K. Dobbins, who might not be back week 1. Ezekiel Elliott with continued regression. He doesn't have Pollard to back it up. Damien Harris is cool, but so is Ramondre Stevenson. Damien Harris also dealing with some shit. Damian Pierce might be your best running back here, and you got him in the 10th. I'll just stop there. And then Chris Godwin, who's not going to be playing probably for a while. And then he's got some rookies and whatever. Johnny, what do you think about Easy Daddy squad?
I like the first 4 rounds, but then I don't like the Dobbins pick. I also got the report today that he might not even be ready for week 1. Like you said, Chris Godwin out till I would say that this one is probably on the outside looking in.
You know what this team is? It's a team that is not in the playoffs, but is like top 5 in scoring.
Yeah.
For weeks with Jamar Chase, Mark Andrews, Pat Mahomes. And it's going to piss you off because it's going to maybe mess with your seeding or give you an upset loss. But I don't think it has the longevity at this.
It'd be like a four cylinder that just never fires on the right.
This team is going to be.
Years ago, I had Calvin Johnson and Matt Stafford. I was 4th in scoring, but still missed the playoffs. 8 teams made it. It's like.
You're not still thinking about it.
This is a second half team there with Godwin, Olave, J.K. Dobbins. It's going to lose 4 games in a row, but then crush teams near the end. Yeah, I think that's a really apt analysis, Big Travie. I'm there with you too on this is on the outside looking in. Moving over to our boy Josh, former Whisper Listener League champion. Big friend of the show here. In the 10th spot, he takes Travis Kelce, and he gets a backup tight end, Hunter Henry, there in round 14. Goes on a panel of wide receiver selections in the 2nd through 4th with CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Waddle, DJ Moore. Gets some more help with Darnell Mooney in the 6th, Tyler Lockett in the 9th. Lamar Jackson's his quarterback selected in round 5, and he doesn't actually take a running back until Kareem Hunt in the 7th. Then he goes on a little bit of a tear there with Rashad Penny in the 8th. Alexander Madison in the 10th, Isaiah Spiller in the 11th, J.D. McKissick in the 12th, and Jamal Williams in the 13th. I think I covered it all here. Johnny, what do you think about this team? Interesting way to build it.
Kudos to Jay Blizzy because he really pulled this off, man. Like this is I think he would be a playoff team.
Cool.
I think that depending on certain things falling his way, it could be a contender team. But I really like how he went 0 RB here, and I think that he pulled it off by getting Kareem Hunt and then Rashad Penny. And I said,
like if Penny holds it down and he stays like the starter all season, like he might have done it. What do you think, Travis?
And then
I was thinking like this team. I was trying to come up with like some analogy. He like white knuckled running back. He like just kept going through this draft and like, no, not this round, and pushed it off.
Right.
Like, Austin said till the 7th. I think of Dumb and Dumber, and he's like, just go, man. And they're like frozen on the moped, and he's pissing himself, but he pulled it off, like Johnny said, like. Now, you do need Penny's health. You do need Kareem Hunt to still be viable with Brissett for whatever time that is. But the Madison and Spiller investments, like fuck McKissick, fuck Jamal Williams. The Madison and Spiller, you really need one of those guys ahead of them to get hurt because then you're smashing. But I think he did a good job because you only have to start 2 running backs in this format. It is PPR, so McKissick can have some value there. Kind of like the poor man's Naheem Hines situation, or maybe rich man's if you think about the role. But either way, really good there.
Yeah, I'm in the playoffs here.
He's a spaghetti with no meat, dude.
Yeah.
This is a good. This is a fun team. This is a great mock draft here.
Yeah.
Expect nothing less from you, Josh. And our final team to evaluate will be Brocal drafting in the 11th spot. He goes Devontae Adams. I miss you so much, dude. Devontae Adams in the 11th. He gets Stephon Diggs there in the 2nd round. Let's keep the wide receivers going. In the 5th, he takes Amari Cooper. Sniped me. Kadarius Toney in the 9th, Tyler Boyd in the 12th, George Pickens in the 14th. He gets James Conner as his RB1 in the 3rd round. Next round is a running back as well. Antonio Gibson, Tony Pollard in the 7th, CEH in the 8th. His quarterback 1 will be Joe Burrow, who he selects into the 6th round and gets Deshaun Watson there for some depth down there in the 13th round. His tight ends are going to be Pat Freiermuth and Cole Kmet. He gets those in rounds 10 and 11. I think this is a pretty well-rounded team, Travis. Got some upside there at really all positions, and he's got decent floor there as well. I see a pretty value-based team. What do you see, Travi?
Before I jump into this, I just want to shout out Brocal. I know he's got some stuff going on with family health situation. We love you, man. We love that you take time out of your day to be here with us, and we appreciate that. And we just want to say we're sending you all the good vibes, all the love, thoughts, and prayers, whatever it is that you do. Whisper Nation's rallying around you right now, and just sending you all the love for you and your family and your loved ones. So we love you, Brocal. Josh saying he loves us. We love you guys. We just do it for Whisper Nation. So I just wanted to get up there and say that a little bit.
Thank you, Travis.
But going into the football portion of this, I really like this team. I didn't think I was going to based on some of the way it worked out, but Diggs, like people aren't talking about Diggs as like one of the few wide receivers in this range that we don't really have questions about. Like we know he's a great quarterback. He should be a smash. Like, and I think he had a down year efficiency wise last year. So people are like, oh, but like Johnny was talking about Dawson Knox, some peak things that happened last year that broke away.
He was the number 7 wide receiver last year. It was just a slow start.
I don't think it's out of the realm that he could be the number 1 wide receiver again this year. I really don't. It's just based on the offense. And if we want to invest in Gabe Davis and Dawson Knox, the answer might just be Stephon Diggs, dude. Like, just go with that.
Yes.
So anyways, that's just to say that I really like the wide receivers. To get Cooper as my 3rd, Tony and Boyd, I think were great picks at their prospective costs. I thought Burrow fell a little bit in this draft, which I like the value to get Burrow here. I love what you did. If you don't love Connor and Gibson, and I don't particularly love them based on the range and the trajectory of running backs with Connor's age and Gibson's like situation, I love what you did to pair it with Tony Pollard and CEH. Like, we want to dunk on CEH, but in the 8th round, he could be an RB2-3 plug and play for you on a really good offense. So I like it, and I thought he did well at the tight end to double tap it there. Again, I think there's huge upside. If Burrow isn't the voluminous passer that we think he needs to be to get there, then you ride it out till Watson's back. Let's say he gets a half-year suspension. Then you got jet fuel for your playoff run, and I think this team's a contender in my eye. Could falter a little bit. I think I could go playoff, but I like it. I think it's a contender for me.
If this is healthy, it's a contender. Like, I'm literally just being like, oh, James Conner's going to get hurt. I'm telling myself stupid stuff. And it's like, no, like Stephon Diggs was a wide receiver 1 last year, even though he had the slow start. And that's back-to-back wide receiver 1 season finishes. He's 28. He's going to like Devontae Adams. He's not going to be as good as he was last year, but that's fine. Like, I'm talking myself out of this being a contender.
Right. Yeah.
Then I want to get nitpicking. Like, well, what I think he could have done a little bit better at the quarterbacking spot is taken Jalen Hurts instead of Joe Burrow, and then picked up Matt Stafford instead of CEH. And it's like, all right, fine, maybe, but like he got Joe Burrow and Deshaun Watson. Like this should be pretty good.
Yeah.
I
think he just got all the players at the right spot when I look at it. You know, it's just like it was really good value from this angle.
What about you, Johnny? Anything else?
Adams in the first.
I think, I mean, I have the same concerns about the running backs as you do, Austin. But again, for like literally, if I were to give any advice, it would be like, oh, instead of taking like Tony Pollard and CEH, like if he had Penny and Chase Edmonds, I'd be like, this dude's got it. Absolutely, hands down. But I still think he's going to be okay, especially because it's a PPR. Like, I think he'll be fine. Yeah. And, you know, like you said, like we're kind of baking in like, oh, they're probably not going to stay healthy. But there is a reality. Like James Conner still gets 10 plus tutties. Gibson does still retain that because he's had 10 tutties twice in his career. So, I mean, it's definitely a playoff team. Borderline could be a contender as long as his players, his running backs stay healthy.
I'm right there with you both. Whisper Nation, and we are with you, and you are with us. And isn't that fucking beautiful living this thing called life together? We've got our 4th annual mock draft marathon coming your way this weekend, Saturday, 10 a.m. Pacific, all the way through Sunday, 10 a.m. Pacific. It's going to be 24 mock drafts every hour on the hour. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to catch all of that good stuff coming your way. Big Travie, what did I fail to say today? What did I miss?
Nothing, man. You did an excellent job. I always appreciate your effort here, and Johnny and Troy. Thanks to Troy for mocking with us today. I did notice you tried to sneak in 12 more hours into the mock draft marathon. That's how much we love it. We're trying to get 12 more hours in there. No, but it will be 24 hours. The best in the industry are joining us for a 4th year in a row, just to echo what Austin said. So make sure you're subscribed. You hit that notifications. And I know it's kind of taboo to share this page with your league mates, but just do it. Just for this weekend, share it. Let them be in on the mock draft craziness. They're going to love it. We got our boy Mike in the chat saying he's going to be in on the mock draft marathon. That's right. So everybody's going to be here having a good time. You want to be here too.
Johnny, what did we miss?
Just an awesome time. If you didn't join the whole stream, that's it.
You weren't here. You missed a good fucking time. That's what you missed. I guess we'll take that as a good sign off. Yeah. We love you, Whisper Nation. We love drafting along with us. See ya on Sunday morning. Classic Mike says, man, we'll see you when we see you. We will be here. On behalf of Johnny Game Time, Hicks, Big Travie, I'm Austin Sear with the Fantasy Whispers. We're out.
Peace.
Draft Marathon. What is this? It's consecutive mock drafts for a total of 24 hours. Requires hours and even years of preparation.
Which is a little bit controversial, but...
Are you shitting me, Johnny?
I didn't plan that, I swear.
I can pretty much say 100%.
Something that you really love to do.
Let the games begin.
Somebody came in and stole Johnny, and they're hijacking his draft.
Oh, he's going to blame it on his 78-year-old neighbor.
Damn it, you guys snuck in a super flex. I knew it.
Ball is going to taste different than this meatball.
That's not that bad from a flex.
Outliers decide fantasy champions.
Stand out above the crowd. About the same set of 200 players, and it never gets